On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, Draymond Green has been suspended from a must-win game, which is how you know the NBA playoffs have officially started. That is the marker as soon as Draymond is dominating sports discourse, and we are talking about him being suspended in a playoff game. That's how you know the NBA is really getting going and getting good. Thoughts and prayers to Domantas Sabonis, by the way, who is now listed as questionable for Game 3 on Thursday night for what was reported as, I wrote it down here. It says, a little boo-boo. He stepped on my chest and I got a little boo-boo, and now I don't know if I could play basketball with a little boo-boo on my chest. This story is absolutely stupid, and the posturing of both fan bases is ridiculous, and I don't really want to talk about it that much, but it is the story of the playoffs right now. The film, I'm calling it the film because I just keep thinking of the Zapruder film is what this has become. The slow motion. I've seen this thing from every angle at this point. Twitter has thanks a lot, Elon. You've broken Twitter to the point that now I can't figure out. It's hard to figure out who the sources are on these tweets and the opinion. You see a different angle of Sabonis pulling down Klay Thompson, and then I'm is this a Warriors? This is a Kings? Is this neutral? I can't even figure that out anymore. It's absolute chaos. But we're going to talk about it a little bit, I guess. TJ and I are going to spend an hour probably breaking down the difference between a stomp and a step. This is the other thing that's hilarious, is that I'm getting big Juwan Howard vibes when Juwan Howard struck a man in the handshake line in Madison, Wisconsin, and everyone was like, wow, he just punched the coach. And then some people were like, whoa, that wasn't a punch. That was a smush. And I was like, what's the difference? I don't understand. That's where we've arrived with the Draymond Green situation. Did he stomp? Did he step? I don't know. Who gives a shit? Also, the Suns aren't dead yet. Neither is the mid-range shot. The Phoenix Suns, who I saw on the Barstool Sportsbook, are still the favorites to win the West. I find that a little surprising, TJ. A little bit surprising, but there you go. The Suns are still alive, still kicking. Devin Booker, 38 points. Durant and Chris Paul carved up the Clippers from the mid-range, so that series is going to get interesting. The Celtics and Sixers are dominating as expected. If the Hawks are going to follow my shock the world blueprint, now would be a good time to start. It's like they didn't listen to me at all. The game plan is simple. You have one game where you get hot. You have a second game where they get cold. You have a third game where the refs help you win, and you have a fourth game that you win because of the home crowd. It's that simple. They have not listened the first two. They have not used any of my advice in the first two. So we'll see if Atlanta has any sort of chance whatsoever. But it does not look like it. It looks like the Celtics and Sixers are well on their way to meeting in the next round of the playoffs. So maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. Also, the Barstool debut of my fraud power rankings. I am addicted to watching the NBA playoffs and calling grown men who get paid millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars and who are on the top 0.00001% of their profession frauds. I love it more than anything else. It's why I do what I do. I wake up in the morning and I say, who is fraudulent in the world of basketball today? And finally, at long last, I'm debuting my fraud power rankings on the Mark Titus Show. We're getting into all of that today. Let's get to it. All right, we are recording this show Wednesday night before the games. I am the hardest working man in show business, but we had a scheduling conflict, and we had to record before the game. So if you're listening to this Thursday morning, and the Lakers Grizzlies, what are the games tonight? Lakers Grizzlies. I know Nuggets Timberwolves play, and I think there's a third one, right? Heat Bucks. That's right. So if something crazy happens in one of those games, I apologize. I am the hardest working man in show business, but like I said, we have a scheduling conflict, and the scheduling conflict is that the games are on too late. I want to go to bed. No, I'm kidding.
That's that West Coast toughness.
Yeah. The conflict is this. I'm tired. I don't want to work. No. Anyway, I just want to say that at the top because, obviously if you're listening and LeBron, if Anthony Davis had his arm pop out of its socket again, and then he had to pop it back into his socket, and then he went out and scored 50, and you're like, I can't believe Titus didn't mention that at all. Apologies.
I think it's more of an ankle roll night for AD. He did the arm last game. I think he's going to step on somebody's foot and roll his ankle and miss 8 minutes.
I can't believe they're talking about John Morant. He's not playing tonight. There's no way. But maybe there's a way. I don't know. The language around injuries is so fascinating. I made fun of Domantas Sabonis at the top about how he's questionable for Game 3. I mean, if Domantas Sabonis doesn't play in Game 3 of the Warriors Kings series, then I will never defend basketball players as tough ever again. I mean, that is the softest thing I've ever seen in my life. So this is obvious gamesmanship on the Kings. This is, as the kids say, cap. Do they still say that, TJ? Is that still a thing? Are kids
Cap?
still calling things cap? Yeah.
Probably not. I don't know.
There's no way Domantas Sabonis is hurt to that extent to where he's actually questionable. This was just some sort of gamesmanship on the Kings' part. I think it's the same thing, but like the opposite side of the same coin, if that makes any sense, with John Morant and the Grizzlies, where it's like I can't imagine a world where this guy can play, and they're kind of listing him as questionable, and that's the hilarity of pro sports injuries or how they are reported is that Domantas Sabonis, who got a foot lightly touched on his chest, and John Morant, whose wrist bent backwards and he landed from like 10 feet in the air on his wrist, his shooting hand the wrong way. They are both they have the same status for a game for the next game that they're playing. I don't think Ja's going to play, but the fact that he might is pretty freaking crazy. So if Ja plays tonight and balls out, again, apologies. We'll talk about it next show, I guess. Before we get into the Draymond stuff, by the way, I have some follow-up from last show where we were talking about the Chinese basketball point shaving, match fixing nonsense, and I think you agreed that it was a little bewildering that they jumped straight to it. That like I'm not saying I didn't want to say one way or another. I just felt like there should be an investigation. I felt like putting out statements immediately, and Yao Ming, who's the president of the Chinese Basketball Association, saying like this is disgraceful. Like it felt like this wasn't due process. It felt like they just immediately were like, everyone's obviously match fixing, and you watch the clip, and I don't know. I mean, it doesn't look great, but it wasn't to me like that obvious, and I found that pretty surprising. So I did some research. I did some digging up on my own, and the reason they jumped straight to this is definitely match fixing is because this is apparently not only kind of a problem in Chinese professional sports, this is what Chinese professional sports apparently are, is that Chinese professional sports just exist as a mechanism to commit gambling fraud. It would appear. Because if you search on Google, as I did, like just Chinese match fixing, and you take out basketball even, there is, I found a story from February 2013 in The Guardian, British news outlet, The Guardian, where they describe the corruption in Chinese soccer, or as they call it, football, obviously. The corruption was described as endemic, that this is such a problem that in 2013, Chinese Football Association fined 12 club teams up to 103,000 pounds and punished 58 current and former football officials, players, and referees for match fixing and bribery. 25 were banned for 5 years. 33 of these people were banned for life. It said that they were the soccer players are prone to accepting bribes because their salaries are painfully low, delayed for months. And the article said that the punishments mark the end of it. Oh, this is the funny part that I wrote down. This week's punishments mark the end of an extensive anti-corruption campaign that kicked off in 2009 under the 58-year-old association president Wei D or something. He put up a hard fight against match fixing, but recently resigned over poor results, according to state media. So this guy like became the president of the Chinese Soccer League to stop corruption. He tried for years. He couldn't do it. Then there's this big story that blows up 10 years ago that 58 people are fixing matches in soccer. There is a story from October about a Chinese tennis player who was fixing matches this past October. There was a story from this January of 10 snooker players, which I don't even really... I know snooker's like pool, but there's some weird shit to it that I don't even fully... Is that the one with the bumpers? Is that snooker?
I know that there's like 30 balls on the table in snooker.
That's
a bunch
snooker's
of red
got like
balls.
30 balls. Snooker, 10 Chinese snooker players were charged with match fixing in January. There was an esports Chinese match fixing scandal in February and a handful of other times where I was trying to read the article and it was so many... The esports guys don't use their real names, and it was hard to tell what the hell. I got very confused, but I could figure out that it was esports. Is Dota 2 a thing?
Yeah, that's like as big as real sports are in Asia.
That's the game?
Yeah, Dota.
Okay, Dota. There was match fixing going on there. There's a huge scandal in Chinese Dota Dota play. And then in volleyball, Chinese volleyball got investigated in 2015 for match fixing. So this is something that apparently like that entire country just deals with constantly.
Yeah.
And I guess that would make a lot more sense as to why they saw a team go on a 10-0 run and like immediately everybody watching was like match fixing instead of like they just suck, you know? So there's your update, TJ.
Damn. I guess we'll eat our words.
We'll eat our words. And then the other funny thing, I remember you saying something about Ben Simmons. You made a joke about Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
Are you aware? Because I knew the guy looked familiar, so I looked it up. The guy in the clip that's playing for the Dragons, the Jiangsu Dragons, who goes behind his back in the first little play that got flagged as being, egregiously bad, and then the over and back, and he complained to the ref. That man's name is Antonio Blakeney. He played at LSU with Ben Simmons. He was a McDonald's All-American coming into LSU with Ben Simmons. So I think that might actually that's going to be his defense. He's going to be like, I was not match fixing. I am simply I graduated from the same school of, I guess they didn't graduate. I went to the same. I'm cut from the same cloth as Ben Simmons, basically. That's all it was. I turned the ball over. And
he got the rub. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all it was. I wasn't match fixing. It was just that. So, anyway, I went down a brief rabbit hole for like 2 hours today on Chinese basketball, and I had to get out. Like I was too deep. I was like, I gotta get the hell out of here. I started writing down. You want to play a game? Because I wrote down some Chinese basketball names.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I wrote some of these down because I want to talk about them, but I'm going to make up some fake ones. You tell me if these are real or fake Chinese basketball league names.
Teams?
Yeah, okay. These are like the teams. I'm sorry. Yeah. These are. So we had the Shanghai Sharks versus the Jiangsu Dragons. My Mandarin is horrendous, by the way. I don't need to point that out to people. So, if you speak the language and your ears are bleeding because of my mispronunciations, I apologize in advance. But here we go. The Royal Fighters, TJ, is that a real team in the Chinese Basketball Association, or did I make that up?
That sounds like, I feel like some of these teams are like computer generated. Like the names, they looked up like team name generator and hit random.
Yeah.
I'll say that's real.
That is real. The Beijing Royal Fighters. The Royal Fighters is real. The Northeast Tigers.
No, that's fake because they have the Guangdong Tigers.
They have the Guangdong Tigers, but that is why they have the Northeast Tigers to separate them from the Guangdong Tigers. They also have the Southern Tigers. Yeah, the Southern Tigers are the Guangdong Tigers.
Oh, okay. That makes
That's what it is.
Sense.
They're the ones in Guangdong. The Guangdong Tiger. They have two tigers, and one is Northeastern and one is Southern. The Guangdong Southern Tigers and the Northeast Tigers. Excuse me. The Blue Whales.
Real.
The Blue Whales is real. The Sichuan, is that the sauce? The Sichuan Blue Whales?
Yeah.
I think it's
named after the sauce.
Is that the sauce? I don't know if I'm joking. I feel like that should be the sauce, but boy, we need to get Donnie on here. Donnie has
extensive experience with these teams.
I know, but he's climbing Mount Everest as we speak.
Right.
Unfortunately.
Obviously. Yeah.
The Shooting Stars.
No, that's fake. You made that up.
That's fake. I made that one up. But it sounded right. It sounded good. The Sturgeons.
That sounds like a real thing.
That's a real one. Yeah. The Fujian Sturgeons, I think is how you say that. Yeah. The Golden Bulls.
That also sounds like a real thing.
That is a real thing. You're good at this.
Yeah.
That's a real thing.
I took Chinese from 4th grade to 11th grade, so that's probably paying off here.
The Hungry Lions.
That's fake.
God damn, you're good, dude. You know your Chinese Basketball Association.
All of the Chinese fell out of my ears after I graduated high school. Like, I can say like 2 full sentences, but...
You gamble on this stuff? You watch the Chinese Basketball?
I mean, when it gets late in the night, there's not much left on the schedule.
I wrote down 2 more. The Oxtails.
That's real.
That one's fake. I got you. Finally. I got you. And then the last one is Monkey Kings.
I want that to be real.
That's real.
Okay, cool.
The Nanjing Monkey Kings.
I wish some of these teams were like more prevalent. Like there was ways to watch.
Oh yeah, for sure.
With these teams more, because I know like it's like always there'll be like a bunch of random players, obviously, and then like a college like superstar that you remember,
right?
Everything they did. Like I know like Diamond Stone's name came up in like some foreign basketball league, and I was just looking at his Wikipedia and teams he's played on: Taiwan Beer Hero Bears, Cocodrilos de Caracas, which is a Venezuelan team. San
That
Miguel
sounds like the start of
Beermen.
the Venezuelan team sounded like the start of the Harlem Shake. The way you said that.
Cocodrilos de Caracas.
Yeah, I agree with you. The problem with the Chinese league is, I think I said this on the last show, is that they cap out the number of Americans you can have. So like if they really wanted to blow the league up, you could just let all the college guys that can't make the NBA go over there and play. And then I would watch the shit out of that. If you had, like you said, a bunch of Diamond Stone type dudes and Michael Beasley's and Eric Bledsoe's. But the problem is you only get like one or two on each team, and then it becomes hard to grow the sport. But then also if you let all the Americans take over, then it just completely hijack. I think that defeats the purpose of what China's trying to do, which is get good at basketball. But they also can't get good because everybody that plays basketball in China is shaving points.
Yeah.
So there you go. But I will let Yao Ming do his business and figure out the match fixing deal and stay out of it, because it seems like it seems like they have a reason to believe that there was match fixing going on, that this is part of the culture over there, and it wasn't just a case of guys sucking, as it turns out. Tired of being soft when you should be hard? 40% of men suffer from hormonal imbalances and low testosterone, and no one is willing to talk about it. The average male testosterone level has decreased by 26% over the past 3 decades. The situation is that you have a bunch of guys that are depressed, they don't have energy, they can't focus, they're gaining weight faster, their libido is gone. Elevated by Astroflav is an all-natural testosterone booster containing 2 powerful ingredients, Fedoja agrestis and Tonkat Ali. This combination in Elevated has shown results of 250-point increase in total testosterone, but can be anywhere between 200 to 400-point increase. Increased testosterone levels means increases in energy, improvements in libido, reduction in stress levels, while building muscle and burning fat. Elevated by Astroflav has over 500,000 bottles sold to men with amazing results. Get a free 2-week trial of Elevated available at astroflav.com/barstool. Just pay shipping. Anyway, let's talk about Draymond Green. Let's talk about the story of the NBA right now. Draymond suspended for Game 3. My initial thoughts, I think the NBA got it right, which is to say Sabonis was punished. He got the technical foul. He grabbed his leg. I think he deserved to be. He definitely instigated it. I think Draymond, was goaded into this. I think he was baited, however you want to describe it. But at the same time, I think Draymond deserves zero benefit of the doubt. I think the people that were making the argument that if this was anybody else, the NBA probably isn't as harsh. I think you're 100% correct, and I think that's okay. I think that line of thinking is okay. I think when you have a guy who's had 163 career technical fouls, 17 career ejections, 4 career suspensions, I think at a certain point when there is a hazy area and it's ambiguous as to who started what and how hard did he stomp on his chest and all that sort of thing, this is how this works. This is how it works in the NBA. This is how it works in life. This is how it basically his reputation is not unwarranted. Draymond Green is not the most unlucky player in the history of the NBA, which is what he would lead you to believe when he gets into these dust ups. There seems to be some sense of like, yeah, sure, I kind of did mix it up with him, but it wasn't 100% my fault because XYZ. And I guess like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 times that could sort of be a plausible explanation. When we are on 163 career technical fouls, I think I get to the point where I'm like, all right, so am I supposed to believe that you're just literally the most unlucky professional athlete of all time and you just somehow keep Mr. Magooing your way, blindly walking into like these obscene situations on basketball courts over and over again? Or maybe, perchance, you are doing something to instigate as well, and you are a guilty party in this sort of thing. So yeah, I don't have it does feel like there was like a line drawn in the sand, and I mean that's how all sports punditry works, is you have to pick a side and you have to defend it to the death. I felt like Sabonis was a big time wuss. I felt like he milked the shit out of it. I don't think that Draymond really stomped him at all. I think most of the weight was on his foot that was on the ground, and he like sort of went to step on him, but then at the last second like jumped at the same time. I'm not saying that I would want that to happen to my chest. I'm just saying that if that did happen to my chest, I probably wouldn't writhe around in pain and then also chest bump guys later in the game, but then also say I'm questionable for game 3 because I have like, it's very obvious what was going on the Kings' part, and whether whether that's gamesmanship or whether that's like Bush League, I don't really know. But the point is like I think Sabonis getting a tech was warranted. He grabbed his foot. He should have got a tech. I don't think what Sabonis did was like dangerous. I don't think it went above and beyond. I don't think it was like abhorrent behavior. I just think it was like he's kind of a douchebag, grabbed his leg. Then he kind of got stepped on, and yeah, so the technical on Sabonis' side was fine to me. Meanwhile, I was also fine with Draymond both getting ejected and suspended because, like I said, he brings this stuff upon himself. Like this is, and I don't think the NBA really said this, but I do think the way he was handling the crowd after the fact played into it as well. You can't like, I don't know that he did apologize to the NBA or try to pretend to be innocent, but it's really hard to go to the NBA offices and say, I was a victim in all this, when there's clips of you like trying to instigate the crowd, like trying to fight the crowd. The one guy, I don't know how much you were paying attention to, the guy with the 2 middle fingers, the older dude with the gray hair that's like flipping off Draymond, yelling at him.
I almost thought that face-to-face was what the suspension was going to come down for, was Draymond screaming like you're a pussy at a fan and like riling, like instigating a riot almost. Like I didn't even think the thing on the ground was suspension worthy on either side. Sabonis basically did what Draymond would have done if Draymond wasn't who he is. Like if that's a normal tie up on the ground, the person that gets their leg grabbed is going to fall down and embellish it and roll around a little bit. Right. But because Draymond has to be like, he's basically the Ndamukong Suh of the NBA. He saw that as an opportunity to like make a moment out of it. So he stomped on him. So Sabonis had to embellish it and turn it into a situation. Like it could have been a non-issue either way. Instead, we have like, two guys that are both claiming like violence against the other.
It felt like there's just no honor among thieves type situation where I was like, you both stink. Sabonis was obviously Sabonis fell on the ground because he was like falling. He was like pulling Klay Thompson as he was falling down. And then he pulls on like Sabonis was very obviously dirty, but then Draymond took it above and beyond, and then Sabonis. That's why like the whole thing was just like you're all stupid, and I think you all lose in this situation. Now Sabonis does not get suspended, but I don't think if you actually like look at what he did, I don't think that warranted a suspension. Should Draymond's have warranted a suspension? I guess I see the argument that it shouldn't have. I get like because I really didn't think he stomped. I thought it looked bad. Like it was
like a WWE level stomp. Like he the video like the invisible box trick where you like put one foot under the other and like pretend to like he barely made contact.
It was WWE, dude. Like when WWE guys are stomping on chest, they're using their off foot to like bang on the mat really hard to make it sound loud. That's exactly what it was. But at the same time, Draymond like very purposely like put his foot there versus like I don't buy that argument whatsoever that like he had nowhere else to step or he couldn't do anything else about it. It really was just like the dumbest situation of all. The real issue is should Draymond have been suspended? And I guess this is what people are. It's worth like debating that. I do wonder if people would be so like if the Warriors were up 2-0 and Draymond got suspended for this, do the people that don't want to see Draymond get suspended, would they care that much? Like, because I don't feel like this is the problem with this situation is I don't feel like we're arguing over like what actually happened. I feel like we're arguing over how do we make this a competitive series. Like you know what I mean? Like I think like ideally the series is 1-1 and Draymond gets suspended and then like we don't really feel like it affects anything one way or another, and the Warriors still have time to catch up. But now we're going into a game 3. The Warriors have to win. They're the defending champs, obviously. We're in the midst of this Warriors dynasty, and every time they don't win the title, people are going to talk about that must be the end, and is this the last we've seen of Steph Curry playing meaningful basketball, and yada, yada, yada. And And as much as people want to cheer against them, we also don't want it to end probably in a first round sweep against the Kings. Like, I think like the most compelling way for the Warriors run to end would be they have a competitive push and then they get dethroned by somebody, you know, like maybe they play the Celtics in the finals again and the Celtics knock them off this time. And then we never see Steph and Clay and Draymond, you know, in a meaningful playoff series again. But I think that's what's playing into it more than anything. I think it's like not the isolated incident. I think like what people are really upset about is like, how do we get this series? But to that point, I would say like this isn't. There feels like there's like this sentiment that Draymond Green is somehow unlucky, or that the Warriors, this keeps happening, and people point back to the 2016 finals when he hits LeBron in the nuts and then gets suspended, and that's, some people argue that that's what helped the Cavs win, and without that the Cavs, luck and unluck and all that sort of shit when it comes to this sort of thing, I don't buy that either, because Draymond brings this upon himself. Like, this is all, like, luck is injuries. Luck is like fluke injuries. Luck is like the Rockets against the Warriors that one year where they missed 27 straight threes. That's bad luck, you know? There are ways you can be unlucky in basketball. Being an asshole on a basketball court and stepping on guys and then barking at, like, having this reputation that he's built through the years, and then also continuing to like instigate and get involved in shit, that's not unlucky. So I don't think the series, like if the Kings do go on to sweep the Warriors, and never mind if they even sweep them, they win game 3 and then win in however many games it takes them. First of all, there's definitely no asterisk, but there's also like no, I don't have any sense of like, damn, we didn't get to see the Warriors at full. This is the Warriors at full strength. This is what Draymond Green is. This is why you keep this guy around, because you know both sides of the equation. He's going to punch his teammate in the face, but he's also one of the best defenders the NBA's ever seen, and he kind of revolutionized like small ball defense and all that sort of thing. And that has been the tug of war the Warriors have had the whole time. Is like when you're the Warriors like blew up in the first place, they were playing a finesse style of basketball on the offensive end with shooting and jump shots at a time when everybody remembers Charles Barkley in 2015 talking about how the Golden State Warriors will never win an NBA championship because jump shooting teams can't win NBA championships. That cannot be done in the modern NBA. And he was sort of right up to that point, but then like at the same time they did win the championship, and a big reason they won the championship is because yes, they were a finesse jump shooting team, but you also had this guy in Draymond Green that like absolved them of all their soft sins, so to speak, where he was just like a stone cold motherfucker on defense and would just mix it up with everybody. And my ultimate point, I guess, TJ, is like this is who this man has been the whole time, is that like you invite his aggressiveness, you invite his assholishness, you invite all of this. This is why he is good. But then also you have to live with the other side of it, which is that he might get tossed from a game and might get suspended in a pivotal game. So to me, I think the Kings are playing the Warriors at full strength in Game 3, because this is what Draymond is. The Draymond getting suspended is part of the quote unquote full strength experience with the Golden State Warriors. You know,
it's the meme of the guy in the hot dog suit. Like, we're all trying to figure out who did this.
Yeah.
It's Draymond sees a podcast clip opportunity and he goes after it, and yeah, that's the type of, it's like Brandon Walker like cheating on the dozen or being an asshole and then being like, why are people booing me?
Why are you booing me? It's like, what did you expect? Yeah. Are villains good for the NBA, do we think?
Yes.
Because
yes,
I think they are. I just like, I'm wondering like with Draymond, I was thinking about that because like I don't know if Draymond's been a hell of a villain. Like Draymond, he's GOAT level villain in the NBA during this run. I just like, as I was watching this thing unfold and him barking at the, I personally, and I'm not speaking for everyone, I want to talk through this, TJ, because I think I just find Draymond's act tighter at this point. I can't even bring myself to like be on the villain or hero side. Like I can't, to me it's not even entertaining from like this guy's a fun villain to cheer against anymore. I feel like it's just like the same story I've seen over it. I think it ultimately boils down to like he's not good anymore. He's like not as good at basketball. And so now, like, if you're not good, if you are good, you could be a villain. If you're not good, you're just kind of a dickhead, you know? And that's kind of where I've arrived with it, is that I sort of just feel like it's played out. But then also, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting old. And like maybe part of getting old watching sports is like wanting people to be classy.
Right.
and I'm just like,
oh, you're doing a classless argument here?
Yeah, I think it might
inside a riot online.
I think that happens. I think you grow up watching sports and you think like guys who talk shit are cool, and then one day you just wake up and your back hurts a little bit and you're like, this is so freaking classless. Clean it up. Respect the game. And I don't know if I'm there yet. I don't know. But like I like watching Draymond bark at the fan. And I wasn't like the fan like flipping him off and saying respect the game and all that, but I was just kind of like rolling my eyes like I'm over this. This isn't fascinating theater to me anymore with Draymond. But also villains, I don't know, like it's weird cuz like I think we need villains in the NBA, but it also feels like we might need heroes in the NBA, TJ. Yeah. I feel like we don't have any heroes right now. I feel like there's so many unlikable guys in the league and there's so many guys that people hate that maybe we have too many villains, and if we could just find some guys that are easy to cheer for, that aren't spouting off wild shit on Twitter and demanding trades and sitting out games and fighting,
it's just like more often than not the bad guys win in these situations.
Yeah,
like it's not fun when the bad guy has however many rings Draymond has. Or like Tom Brady was the villain in the NFL for his run in certainly New England. He's kind of lightened up now, but the evil empire was the Patriots. And seeing them win over and over again, it sucked ass unless you were a Patriots fan. And then the 2 times or the 3 times that they lost, it was like, we did it. Like, we won.
Right.
Like, the Giants beat them when they were going for an undefeated season. That felt like a win for everybody else.
So I'm trying to think of who...
But the other thing with the Warriors is, like, they're not necessarily villainous as a team, but when you have a villain on it, sometimes it overshadows. Like, Steph is very likable, I think. But when they play LeBron is a villain to most basketball watchers, I think. Like, there's a lot of LeBron haters because he's so good.
Right. I don't think Steph's not a villain, even though he always wins. Clay is not, but at the same time, he'll talk some shit and in a way that like people don't always love. So like if you catch Clay on the wrong, if he's playing your team under the certain context of like if he's talking shit to your team, I could see people hating Clay. I think like general America, the general basketball fan, I don't think thinks of Klay Thompson as a villain. Steve Kerr is an interesting one because I think Steve Kerr wants to be the lovable coach, but then also he's the guy that like lectures the Grizzlies about code of conduct and dirty play, and then Draymond Green steps on a guy's chest and gets ejected, and then is talking mad shit to fans and just acting a fool. And Steve Kerr is asked about it and is just like, I haven't seen it. I didn't see it live. I haven't seen the replay. I know nothing. I'm still. And I see right through that bullshit. Like Steve Kerr is the king of like speaking out on shit, and then when it comes to his doorstep, he's like, I don't have all the facts. I need time to think about this, which I don't necessarily think is likable. But I don't know, man. I'm trying to think of like who's going to be the villain after Draymond. I guess there's that part too, because like to me, Draymond's act is kind of tired. But then like I think some of the guys that aren't super likable in the league aren't really. Like Kevin Durant's an example. Kevin Durant ruined basketball, as we know, and everything about that man is a villain. But also, like he's not. I don't really feel like he's like he feels like too soft to be a villain or something.
I just find him like so funny that I can't hate him.
Yeah, he's almost He doesn't. It doesn't feel like a guy you want to fight. You're just kind of laughing at him.
He's like he just chops it up on Twitter with the people. I gotta respect that to some degree.
You respect it. Yeah. You respect it. I was trying to figure out like what makes a good villain and like what has Draymond lost that like doesn't work for me anymore.
If the Thunder,
I think he's not good anymore.
Yeah, if the Thunder do become like the power that they seem like they can become with all of their youth and all of their picks, I think that Chet Holmgren could become a villain.
That's a good call, TJ.
I think that I see him on TikTok pretty often because he's very active on there. You would think that this guy is leading the NBA in scoring every year with the way he's like gloating and posting like outfits and flexing like cars. He is like very much a villain material, and if they're going to become a team that's in the playoffs every single year, I think that they'll become very hateable very fast.
Yeah, and he meets the criteria of being good enough, or at least we think he will once he gets healthy. I think that's a big thing, though. I think there's a difference between just being like a hateable guy and being like a true villain. Because like when I'm thinking of like a villain in the NBA, you're thinking of like the guy that like propels the story forward. You know what I mean? Like he's like a central figure in what the story of the sport is. So you have to be good. And I guess that's ultimately my issue with Draymond is like he's not that good anymore.
Right.
And it used to be that he was very, very, very good, and you also don't like him, but damn it, you have to respect him. And that tug of war was fascinating. Now he's just kind of like a dirty douchebag, you know? Like that's just kind of like what his brand is now. Yeah. And even his own teams, I mean, he punched his own teammate, and it like gets to a point where like Warriors fans are over it, and the Warriors players I'm sure are over it. And that's just kind of where we've arrived with Draymond. But I don't know who's going to step in his place. I like Chet. Chet makes a lot of sense. Chet could be. I'm buying stock in Chet Holmgren villain. Yeah, but I think too, like, I don't know. I feel like Russ could be a good villain, but he's on the tail end of his career, and right. I don't think he's going to ever be. The Clippers could go on a little run here. Actually, I think the Clippers Suns series is going to be really close, and the Clippers are. I mean, you get Paul George healthy, they could win the NBA championship. So maybe there's a world where Russ becomes. But to me, like Russ does feel like a perfect villain. He's just too old, and there's only so many years left in his career. But he plays hard. He's got it's ambiguous as to whether he's good or not. I think that's a good part of a villain. He does have to be good, but then also it's like, because like when Draymond was at his peak, there were people that are like, he's not even good. He scored 4 points tonight, and then other people are like, yeah, but look at all these plays and all. You know, he obviously. That's exactly where Russ is at right now, where he's not good, but at the same time he is good. Yeah, I don't know. We can move on, but shout out to my other thing I wanted to mention about the Sabonis situation and Draymond getting suspended. Shout out to Shams for reporting the story wrong. We all saw the Shams. We all saw that you reported that he tweeted, "It's looking unlikely the Warriors forward Draymond Green will be suspended for Game 3 versus the Kings after stepping on Domantas Sabonis when Sabonis grabbed his leg on Monday night. Sources tell The Athletic and Stadium." And then he deleted that tweet, TJ, and said Draymond Green has in fact been suspended. So I just wanted to remind everybody that Scoops guys are bozos, all of them, across every sport. They are a cancer to sports media. Stop following these people. Stop giving them power. They do nothing, and they serve no purpose. And I just wanted to remind everybody of that, because these Scoops guys in the NBA drive me up a freaking wall. And we are a couple months away from another NBA draft where Woj's stupid face will be on my television screen because he got everybody at ESPN fired when he got hired there so that he could monopolize all the airtime at ESPN, so he could tell everybody that Jabari Smith will in fact be the first pick of the NBA draft. Never mind. It looks like Paolo. These people know nothing. They serve no purpose. If they did not exist, we would all get the exact same information from them 30 seconds after they tweet it. Stop it. Just everybody stop. And then they get shit wrong like this, you know? Like, and Shams, I don't know Shams personally. I don't need to know him. Like, I feel sort of bad because I don't know all these guys personally. I know a handful of Scoops guys, and most of them are bozos. Apologies to John Rothstein. I do love Rothstein. I reconcile the Rothstein stuff with, like, hate the sin, not the center. That's my line of thinking with Rothstein. I hate that he's a Scoops guy. I wish he would just do catchphrases and T-shirts and, do it that way. I hate that he... Or just I don't know. I've tried to talk to John about this a million times, but I don't know if Shams is I don't know the man personally, but when you're tweeting that it's looking unlikely that Warriors forward Draymond Green will be suspended, that's not journalism, TJ. This is you guessing, like, you know what I mean? Like, are you reporting something or are you not?
It's meteorology.
Yeah, it's looking unlikely. Yeah. Like, okay, so how about you figure out if it's going to happen or not, and then tell us when you actually have something. Yeah. You know,
it's looking unlikely that it'll rain tomorrow. I don't know.
These people drive me freaking crazy, dude. I swear to God, I'm gonna. This is. I get so fired up because, like, people truly believe, and chief among them are Shams and Woj, that if Shams and Woj didn't exist, like, basketball would dissolve as we know it, and like we would be screwed as a sport. I promise you, we would not.
How could there be trades if there's nobody there to break the news that there was a trade? How would the trades even happen?
The trades don't even go through, do they? Oh, they do? They do?
How would the players know they got traded unless Shams tweeted it?
Wait, the teams that... So, like, when a free agent does sign with a new team, the teams themselves do announce that, and we don't need these guys to announce it for...
I'm pretty sure the teams call Shams, and they're like, can you call the Timberwolves
they do.
and see if they want to trade?
No, they do. I mean, like, that's exactly how these guys have jobs. They're just mouthpieces for the teams and the agents and the players and all that. Like, I know how the sausage is made, but that's why I go crazy, because I'm like, this sausage doesn't taste good. Like, people, stop eating the sausage. Get Shams' sausage out of your mouth, people. Like, what are we doing? And I don't know. Anyway,
Draymond stepped on Sabonis' chest for podcast ratings. You should fight Shams.
He didn't even do a podcast, did he? Did Draymond do a podcast?
No. If he was like, if his podcast agent or partner or whoever was on top of their shit, they would have had him on a Zoom call in the locker room that night.
Well, I think Draymond is dodging this. This is what I think's happening, and this is why I'm over the Draymond Green experience, is because like his whole public brand is like, I keep it real, man, and I you know, you don't have to like me. I'm going to be me. And, you know, you do you, I'll do me. And sometimes that might clash, but, like, I'm not going to apologize for it. And, like, that's his whole... And I've respected that for a long time, you know. Like, I don't always agree with what he says or how he conducts his affairs, but you're like, I don't know. I guess that is sort of refreshing, and it's nice to have villains and all that sort of thing. But now he sucks at basketball, and he doesn't even give us what we want, which is when you get ejected and you're fighting Kings fans, and now you're suspended. Now's when we want your podcast, Draymond.
Yeah.
Now we want, like, do a 12-hour podcast. This is what we want. This is when I never listen to the Draymond Green podcast. The only time I ever go to listen to it is when shit like this happens, and then he doesn't even have a show, TJ. He's not the hardest working man in show business. I am. Who do you think you are? I am. No, it's frustrating for real, right? Like, this is why Draymond. Yeah. This is why we're all interested in Draymond's podcast. Those, if you would ever be interested in Draymond's podcast, it would be right now. And this man, he should have done a show that night. He should have gone back to the hotel room and done a show that night, and he didn't. And I'm sure it was because he was like on the phone with the NBA trying to apologize and say, "I didn't mean to. I'm very sorry." They're like, "Draymond, what about this clip of you saying "shut up, pussy" to the Kings fan?" He's like, "Oh, that, yeah, that was just a classic misunderstanding. That was nothing." Quick break to talk about our friends at Coors Light. Sometimes the days can get so crazy that you forget to make time for fun. When that happens, you've got to choose to chill. So go ahead, say yes to midweek happy hours and catching the game after work. And while you're at it, enjoy an ice cold Coors Light, the beer that's made to chill. There's only one beer out there that's literally made to chill, and that's Coors Light. The mountains on the bottles and cans even turn blue when your beer is cold. That way, you always know when it's time to chill. When you're making time to chill, crack open a Coors Light. It is mountain cold refreshment, made to chill. I'm going to be cracking them open. I'm proud to say this weekend, I'm taking a sailboat out in Santa Barbara for the first time this season, this summer. I'm getting it started. By the way, thanks to everybody when I was asking for help finding the yacht club in Chicago. The people were great, TJ. I got some good leads. But I am this weekend taking the boat out. Not my boat. I wish I owned it. A boat out in Santa Barbara. And I'm taking my cooler full of Coors Lights. I'm so excited to get out on the water with a nice cold Coors Light in my hand. When you choose to chill, pair your plans with an ice cold Coors Light, as I will be doing this Saturday. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/Titus. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Anyway, Shams got me thinking it might be time for fraud power rankings, TJ. I got my fraud power rankings right here. This is if you're new to the fraud power rankings, here's how it works. Once upon a time, I was watching Doc Rivers coaching the Clippers. This might have been the bubble Clippers. I think it was Kawhi and Paul George who were still on the Clippers, obviously. And they were crapping down their leg in the bubble, and everyone was pointing fingers at who was to blame. Why were the Clippers? This is when Pandemic P was started. Paul George wanted to be playoff P. Then he sucked during the pandemic and was then referred to as Pandemic P. Also has a podcast, by the way. Shout out Paul. Paul George is cranking out his podcast because he's not playing, so he's got time to do that right now. Anyway, the idea was born out of like trying to rank who was most responsible, who was the most fraudulent on the Clippers, and then ever since then I've just gotten addicted to it, of just like calling out fraudulent behavior in the world of the NBA because it's fun and it is addicting, and that's how it works. There's the only guy ultimately at the end of the playoff run who is not a fraud is the guy who wins Finals MVP. Everybody else in the league by the end of the season is a fraud and actually sucks at basketball. That's what we learned from listening to basketball talking heads. So anyway, here are your fraud power rankings for this week. At number 5, it pains me to do this because we were just singing his praises not too long ago on the show about how funny he is and how much we like him. Here's a guy who's a villain for a lot of people. It's Trae Young, TJ. Trae Young is number 5 on my fraud power rankings for this reason. 2 years ago, this man averaged 29 points and 10 assists through the playoffs. He led the Hawks to the Eastern Conference Finals. They lost to the Bucks in 6 games. It looked like the Hawks were starting to build something special. It looked like Trae Young, as you pointed out last time we talked about him talking all that shit in Madison Square Garden was awesome. It was endearing. It felt like it felt like Reggie Miller and Spike Lee, like this generation or this version of what that was in the 90s. It felt like Trae Young, like it was going to establish himself as just a playoff killer. This is who he's going to be. Would he eventually get over the hump? I don't know, but this was going to be fascinating theater to watch Trae Young take on all comers and just, go into a garden and bow, and that was sick. Remember when he did that, when he was like bowing, like you're welcome for the show? He just had so much swag, and this is I was so excited for where Trae Young's career was going to go. So when the Heat lose to the Hawks in the play-in game and the Hawks secure the 7th seed, I didn't actually think the Hawks were going to beat the Celtics, but I thought this will be fun to watch Trae Young because the Celtics might be the best team in the NBA, by the way, and they are absolutely rolling right now, and it's not just because they're playing the Hawks. They just are completely freaking locked in. But I was thinking this is going to be fun to watch Trae Young try to be a superhero. Do I expect him to beat the Celtics? No. Do I expect him to try to become superhuman? Yes. He has not done that, TJ. He's shooting 35% from the field. He's shooting 23% from the three-point line. He's averaging just 20 points, 7 assists, and 5 turnovers through the 2 games against the Celtics so far. I don't know. It's very, very disappointing. I understand this has more to do with how good Boston is defensively. Their length gives them problems. They've done a good job of making Atlanta play in the half court and bottling up Trae in the half court defense. Whereas Miami, part of the reason they lost at home to the Hawks was Atlanta was getting up and down, and not slowing the game down and letting Miami's great defense get set. The Hawks did a good job of getting up and down. But then part of that too is because Miami their offense was terrible, so it's a lot easier to run fast break shit when you're getting rebound misses, whereas the Celtics seem to be scoring a little easier. Anyway, point is, Celtics are shutting down Trae Young. It's very frustrating because I thought this series I didn't think it was going to be like a close series. I thought it'd be a lot more fun, and instead it's just playing out on NBA TV, and it's blowout after blowout, and the Hawks looked like they had a pulse there for 8 minutes yesterday, and then the Celtics go on a 17-0 run or something to end the half, and that was that. And so Trae Young, I wanted to see more. There's still time, I guess, technically. We're going back to Atlanta, but the series is pretty much done, and I'm sad because I was hoping this would be a deal of if the Hawks might be down 2-0 after the first 2 games, but Trae Young's averaging 34 points a game, and he had that one shot or that one stretch where he looked like the best player that's not happening at all. Trae Young is just another dude out there right now.
Yep. He also, I don't know if you saw or if you, the Athletic posted a bunch of polls that they did with anonymous NBA players.
Yeah.
And one of the polls was who was the most overrated player in the league. And
he was number 1.
54 votes. Number 1 was other at 31.5%, which I guess is just players naming random players.
Is he European? Other,
yeah. Oter, yeah.
Oter.
Number 2 is Trae Young, 14% of the vote.
Wow. Yeah, I mean that checks out. I think. Can I guess who the other guys are? Is Harden on there and Luka on there?
No.
Wow, really? Russ?
Julius Randle, Pascal Siakam, Jimmy Butler, Rudy Gobert, Jaren Jackson Jr., R.J. Barrett, Dylan Brooks, Draymond Green, Damian Lillard, Chris Paul, Austin Reeves.
I don't like that poll. I think that poll is... I mean, you just listed a bunch of guys that are good, but I don't think that half those guys aren't even on a level where you could... I don't know. I was thinking overrated. We were going to talk about like the best players on each team, not like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how even in with an anonym. Even when it's anonymous, I don't know how many NBA players are actually going to throw somebody under the bus like that to a reporter.
Rudy Gobert is a good answer, though. The NBA players seem to hate Rudy Gobert. All of them.
He caused COVID.
Yeah, he did.
People forget.
And then he ended COVID. Did you see that? That when he punched Kyle Anderson, Biden, like it was that day or the next morning, Joe Biden like announced or signed, I don't know how it all freaking works, but basically the state of emergency of COVID in this country was officially declared over. the right after Rudy Gobert punched Kyle Anderson.
He did it. Mission accomplished.
Thank you, Rudy. Hashtag thank you, Rudy. No, I get Trae Young being I could see him. That does not surprise me. I'll put it that way. Being so ball dominant and as he's a guy that I think most players look at and think like he should be the second or third best player on this team, and I could do what he does if you gave me the ball as much as he has it, and I think they're all wrong. Most of them are wrong. There are definitely guys who could do it, but yeah. Anyway, in this series right now, I'm in no position to defend Trae Young because the Boston Celtics are doing a plenty good job defending him on their own. See what I did there? Number 4 on the fraud power rankings, the analytics nerds, TJ. The mid-range, I was told, is supposed to be dead. I was told that the NBA has solved basketball in a way that the lower levels of basketball have not figured out yet, which is that if you are shooting anything other than a 3 or a 2, a layup, you are a moron. Mid-range is a bad shot to take, and yet the Phoenix Suns against the Los Angeles Clippers in Game 2 were 21 for 29 from mid-range. They shot 72% from the mid-range. They were absolutely carving the Clippers up. Stan Van Gundy was about to have an aneurysm screaming about the Clippers playing drop coverage. Why are they doing it? I heard the words drop coverage more last night watching the Suns-Clippers game than I've heard in the rest of my life combined. And Stan Van Gundy was right. This isn't me making fun of Stan Van Gundy. He was absolutely correct. He was losing his mind watching Ty Lue continue to guard ball screens by dropping a guy back and letting Chris Paul and Kevin Durant and Devin Booker do whatever they want from the mid-range. They simply would not miss. And yeah, that's as it turns out, making mid-range shots, there's still value to it. And the Suns won the game because of that, because the Clippers, the Suns did what Alabama and Nate Oates refused to do. And it triggered me. It definitely did. Watching the Suns shoot mid-range jump shots, I was triggered as a guy that picked Alabama to win the national championship. I was getting flashbacks to them playing San Diego State, and I was screaming at my television, why would Alabama not go 20? Alabama would have gone 21 for 29 from the mid-range if they just would have simply taken the shots, TJ, but they didn't. Yeah, I'm fired up about this Suns-Clippers series because I think the Suns are. I saw in our sports book we have the Suns still as the favorites in the West, and I don't know. I think the Suns are a fascinating case because they're obviously super freaking talented, and you have 4 guys in Ayton and Durant and Booker and Chris Paul who, 3 of them are going to be Hall of Famers, I imagine. 2 of them are already definitely Hall of Famers. Booker's well on his way. Ayton probably not, but who the hell knows? But he's the number 1 pick and is a very, very, very good player. I just don't. The Suns don't have a ton of depth, and also I don't think they don't strike me as like a tough team, and I find that fascinating because I think the Clippers can punk them a little bit, but yet this game too, they just kind of were playing. That's why I think Stan Van Gundy was losing his mind. It was like the way they were guarding him was like a little more passive than I anticipated, and the Clippers have more length and athleticism and can be disruptive defensively, and they were just kind of sagging off on all these ball screens and letting the Suns shoot whatever they wanted, and I imagine we'll see an adjustment, but I really wish Paul George was playing in this series. I'll put it that way, because I think if Paul George plays, I definitely like the Clippers. But I still think Kawhi's the best player on the floor. I don't care what anybody. You can talk about Durant all you want. Kawhi's the best player in this series, and it's something you often forget about Kawhi Leonard, that he's really, really freaking good, because the man simply just sits out too many games, and we forget to see him play all the time. But when he does play, oh my God, what a treat! What an absolute treat! So I'm fired up for this series. It's going to be fun.
It is great. It sucks the way that the regular season is so load management based. I think the NBA's playoffs have the biggest discrepancy in terms of intensity from regular season to playoffs.
Not even close.
You'll get those moments in football when there's big matchups and because there's so few games, and even in baseball and hockey, like you'll have like big game feel. In the NBA, it's really like Christmas and then a couple feature games here and there, and then the playoffs come and everything shoots up to 11. It's awesome.
Right. It's absolutely awesome. But that's what the Suns are so talented. I'm not downplaying how good they are. They have all the pieces. There's three things I cannot forget about the Suns. Every single time I watch the Suns play, I have these three things going through my head. Number one, they got annihilated on their home court in Game 7 against the Mavs. I will never forget that. We all saw it happen. They absolutely quit. It was the saddest looking team. Like I just can't forget that. Like I don't know what I expected out of them. Like I guess I'm kind of asking that they had started a fight or something, but like that's kind of the fantasy you play in your head. You're like, if I was on that team, I would have thrown punches. You're not kicking my ass in a Game 7. I know it doesn't quite work that way, but also like, I don't know, maybe somebody have some sort of pride, and they all just had like sad puppy dog looks like, damn, I guess this is it. And it felt like I don't even care about the Suns, and I felt like I cared more watching it. Like I've had more pride for them than they had themselves, where I was just yelling like, how can you let this happen as this is going on? I will never forget that. I will never forget Kevin Durant joining a 73-win team that he was up 3-1 on and blew the series lead against, and then joined them later and ruined basketball for all those years that he was on the Warriors. That was an absolutely soft move. And I will never forget Devin Booker, the video of him getting double teamed in an open gym and crying about it to Joakim Noah and saying, are we really going to double team, bro? I want to work on my game. And Joakim Noah's like, yeah, this is going to happen. Like, getting double teamed is part of the game, you stupid bitch. Sack up. Those three things together, TJ, give me pause about the Suns, because I just think like, and Chris Paul also, throw him in the mix. I mean, like Chris Paul's entire existence. I just think they might be soft, TJ, is what I'm saying. They might be a soft team. It just might be a team full of guys who are super talented, but not exactly the toughest sons of bitches you've ever seen. And I'm fascinated to see how it plays out, because I think Kawhi Leonard is a tough son of a bitch, and I think the Clippers, Terrence Mann is a great defender, and I don't know. I think it's going to be a fun series, and it already has been a fun series. 2 games in is already a fun series, but that is officially. I'm more fascinated by that than Cleveland, New York, than the Cleveland Knicks series, which is the one that I thought I was going to be most excited about. But now I'm in on the Clippers Suns. So there you go. Anyway, number 3 on my fraud power rankings, California Girls. There are 2 very famous songs about California girls. They were both called California Girls. The Beach Boys had a song back in the day that was like I'm sure it was number 1 back in the day. I don't know. I wasn't around for this. And then Katy Perry makes the song titled the exact same thing, called California Girls. And the whole idea, TJ, is that nowhere else on this planet will you find women more attractive than the California women. I think that might actually be false. Obviously, not all California girls are babes, because Jordan Poole is playing like absolute shit in Sacramento, and I am a guy who cannot get enough of the Jordan Poole baddies memes. I'm sure you're aware of this. You're plugged into your memes that when Jordan Poole, when there are babes on the front row at a Warriors game, Jordan Poole plays better. This is like scientific fact, and this has become a thing that, like I said, I can't get enough of it. Every time there's a clip of like some attractive woman sitting courtside at a Warriors game, and Jordan Poole like hits a shot and gets an and one, and he's like doing like finger guns at her, you know, like he turns his swag all the way up when the hot chicks are in the crowd. And Jordan Poole has played like ass. He played like ass in game 2. He wasn't that bad in game 1, but his defense is so bad. He might be the worst defender that's like getting, I don't know, I'd have to think about it. There's some bad defenders in the league. He's among the worst defenders that gets major minutes on teams that are supposed to be contenders. And that's fine if he also pours in points. Game 2, he was 1 for 7. He scored 4 points. I need Jordan Poole to get back. Forget Draymond, forget all the Sabonis situation. I need Jordan Poole to lock back in. If this is going to be a good series, I need him to care like 1 iota on defense, which is probably a lost cause at this point. Or I need him to. I need some babes of San Francisco to show up to the game 3 and get him going. Because I do believe in that, by the way. I don't think that's a joke. I think Jordan Poole really does play better if there are hot chicks sitting courtside for his games. I truly believe this.
If the Warriors were smart as an organization, they would make sure that was set up ahead of time before the game tomorrow.
I assume they will. I assume that's what's going to happen. I have to believe that that's what's going to happen. But yeah, tough look for the Sacramento women then, huh? You know,
yeah.
Like if that was my takeaway. I was like, man, the women of Sacramento just must not be that attractive.
Well, as we talked about last time, the Kings fans were Kings fans in the early 2000s. Then they became Warriors fans.
Then they became Warriors fans.
So they're probably in their 40s, in their early 40s. Then that maybe.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Aged out of Poole's target range, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and
so
I
they
think
might be baddies, but not the right flavor.
Yeah, not the right. Jordan Poole. This is shocking. Jordan Poole is 23 years old. He's the sixth man of a team, and he has 5 games in his career already of 25 or more points that he scored as a sixth man who's 23 years old. That's wild. So, like, yes, I do agree with people that are of the opinion that Jordan Poole stinks and he's a liability for the Warriors, and why is he getting so much burn right now if he's going to play this way? All of that tracks, but also this man is good, and we've seen him be very, very good. And I again, like the defensive side, I do think that's a lost cause. I think if you're giving Jordan Poole a ton of burn, you're saying, we're hoping you give up 20 points, but you score 27. I think that's the idea. It's like you're gonna give up a ton, but like you're gonna make it up on the other end. Going 1 for 7 for 4 points can't happen. And I blame the women of Sacramento. I was led to believe that the California girls are the hottest in this country, TJ. But apparently it's just the LA and it's the SoCal girls. Maybe it's the SoCal girl. I think the Lakers fans. I gotta think this through. So the Kings fans were the Warriors fans as the Warriors started winning. Because I think like some of the women that go to the Warriors games now, I think they're actually LA women. I think the LA women are flying up to San Francisco and sitting courtside. I think we're getting a lot of that going on. I don't think I think it's a NorCal SoCal thing, and I'm obviously a SoCal guy, so I'm Team SoCal as having this. I think SoCal has all the baddies, and I think this is Jordan Poole's problem.
This is good. This is good discourse right here.
This is good. Is that gonna do numbers on TikTok?
He's also the type of guy, Jordan Poole. I can't hear his name or watch his highlights without thinking about his buzzer beater against Houston.
Oh yeah.
That's such a classic. Like when I'm in a YouTube clip rabbit hole, that's such a go-to. Is his buzzer beater in the second round.
Completely pulled out of his ass too. Like it was just a complete like
he hucked it.
She just hucked it. It goes in, and it's kind of his hero origin story, where from that moment on, this man has had an insane amount of confidence. I mean, he's always had a ton of confidence, but like that went down, and at that point, he's like, I'm special, and obviously, I am. There's some sort of destiny to like my basketball career that like I will always make every shot I throw up, no matter what. And
there's probably nobody's in the crowd for that game because that game was in Wichita, Kansas. So there was almost definitely no women in the arena.
Let's go back and crunch the tape and figure out how hot were the women of Wichita when he hit that shot. I think Draymond being out for Game 3 is going to do wonders for Jordan Poole. That's my prediction. I think having to play alongside a teammate that punched you in the face. I think I don't think he's wired for that. I think he's here for a good time. I don't think like he doesn't have the Steve Kerr in him where like Steve Kerr got punched by Michael Jordan and like it locked him in, and Steve Kerr's like, respect, man. I respect you for that. And also Draymond Green isn't Michael Jordan. So I think when Steve Kerr was punched in the face by Jordan, it actually helped Steve Kerr. But I don't think that was the case with Jordan Poole. I think now that Draymond's out of the picture, maybe he can cook a little bit. We'll see. I don't know. I'm hoping so. Number 2 on the fraud power rankings. Oh boy, the algorithm will love this one. This one will do great on TikTok, and I think this will invite a new crowd to the show that I probably don't want, but numbers are numbers. We treat them all the same, I guess. Modern medicine is fraudulent, TJ.
Go off.
I'm calling out modern medicine. Because if Domantas Sabonis is actually questionable for Game 3, we have a health crisis in this country that we need to figure out, like how a man who got lightly stepped on can be a professional athlete, can be a big man, no less, can have a father who's, I guess this is, I was going to, damn it, I thought that would help my case. I was going to say his father used to guard Shaquille O'Neal all the time, and he has that in his DNA, but then I remembered as I started going down that path that his father flopped all the time. Arvydas Sabonis is big time flopper, that guy. But yeah, he did guard Shaq, and I mean, his dad would get destroyed by Shaq, and he kept ticking. Never a problem. So if Domantas Sabonis is in fact questionable for Game 3, then I'm calling out modern medicine, and I'm saying that we have to figure this out. We have to figure out a sternum contusion. You have a bruised chest, not even like a broken rib, not even a. That's all you're giving me. I don't know, man. I don't. Where do you stand on this in terms of like, is this is obviously very soft, but like, does some part of you respect this, TJ, that like there's gamesmanship going on? Because I think like he was milking it to maybe get Draymond suspended, and then now they're doing the questionable thing. I guess if you're going down that path, you would argue that it's just, you know, to throw the Warriors off of like, will he play, won't he play, to like make, I don't know, to make Draymond look even worse, something like that, where like really. Obviously, within the Kings locker room, they know he's going to play and they know he's fine. Is he just an enormous bitch, or is this like 4D chess that they're playing here?
It could be like a directive sent down from the team, like as they were waiting for the suspension to happen or not. Like, hey, just be hurt, be really hurt.
Yeah,
or,
be really hurt. Let's go run a ton of tests so we really milk this to make it look. Yeah.
I thought you were going to blame the vaccine for a minute there.
Should I? Would that help?
Yeah. Is he vaccinated? Domantas Sabonis got a booster. Now his chest is caving in.
No, I mean, it is a horrendous look for Domantas Sabonis to be questionable, like days after DeMar Hamlin. I know it's an apples and oranges comparison. I know it's not the same thing. I know. But also, I'm just like, the optics. If we're going, you know, just the idea that DeMar Hamlin like literally dies on a football field and they revive him, and now he's cleared to play, and he's like, sweet, I'm going to play. Great, this is what I've been waiting on. Can't wait to play. I'm going to get back out there. And then Domantas Sabonis gets a WWE chest stomp, and he's like...
The way he was rolling around on the ground was like the same level of concern. It was like, we don't know what's happening here. It's like, okay. And then he saw a replay. It was like, oh, his shoelaces might have brushed against his jersey. Let's get the stretcher out.
Just he's freaking Nancy Kerrigan just yelling, why? It's one of my favorite clips. It shouldn't be. That's how I know I'm an asshole. Every time I watch that Nancy Kerrigan clip, I laugh, and I shouldn't. It's very bad. And I saw Tanya, and I feel bad for Nancy Kerrigan, but I just can't help it. Like, it's just funny. It's just funny I don't know why it's funny. It is to me. I'm sorry. Apologies to the Kerrigan family. Number one on the fraud power rankings, sticking with the Sabonis and Draymond incident. My number one fraud this week is Joe Dumars, former Detroit Pistons legend, Hall of Famer, who is apparently the NBA executive VP and is the guy in charge of disciplinary decisions, and is going on ESPN and talking about the decision to suspend Draymond Green. And the reason I have him at number one on the fraud power rankings, TJ, not for his judgment one way or the other. I don't care if he suspended Draymond for the series, if he did no suspension, anything else. I didn't realize that Joe Dumars was the guy that makes these decisions. That's why he's a fraud to me. This man he played for the Bad Boys Pistons. They were literally called the Bad Boys, and now he's working for the man. This feels like the most sellout move in the history of pro basketball. This is insane to me. That a man who he really wasn't one of the bad boys, I guess, if you were going to be devil's advocate and be his defense attorney. That was more Lambeer. More, Dennis Rodman when he was on the Pistons. More Isaiah Thomas would mix it up with guys every so often. That really wasn't Joe Dumars quite as much. But still, for you to be in that world, you are in the bad boys locker room. He is one of the bad boys. He will always be one of the bad boys. The Bad Boys Pistons. You talk about the Bad Boys Pistons. You talk about Joe Dumars, and now you talk about the front office of the NBA and the guys who make the decisions and the guys who are basically the police now. And it's Joe Dumars. He's the guy in charge. The guy who is. Well, what is going on here? This is not.
You want to talk about villain arc? That's like some.
That's
like
a villain
Batman
arc
shit.
That is a villain arc, dude. That is I mean I knew Joe Dumars was like a front office guy because I think he actually did work for the Kings not too long ago.
Yeah.
He used to was he the Pistons GM or he was in the front, like he's worked in front offices before, and I know he's like stuck around basketball and all that sort of thing. I had no idea that this man was singularly in charge basically of making disciplinary decisions. He is now the one thing that he was fighting against. How can you be a bad boy and then also be the guy who's making all these decisions? It makes no sense.
Either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain.
Yeah, so there you go. That's those are your fraud power rankings for the week. Today's show is brought to you by the Barstool Sportsbook, the one and only sportsbook of this show and Barstool Sports. The Barstool Sportsbook is made for you, the loyal fans and listeners, and is the only place to find exclusive picks and parlays from Big Cat, El Prez, and the rest of the Barstool gang. Follow or fade us. It's up to you. Now offering a $1,000 bonus for new players. If your first bet loses, get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So download and create an account today. Use code Titus to unlock your $1,000 bonus. The Barstool Sportsbook lets you bet however you like with daily odds boosts, live in-game wagering, move the line and teaser bets, and Parlay Plus for bigger payouts. iCasino is also available in select states with table games and slots. If you love the Mark Titus Show, you got to get the Barstool Sportsbook. So download and create an account today, and be sure to use code Titus to unlock your $1,000 bonus. That's the Barstool Sportsbook, code Titus. Terms apply. Must be 21 plus. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Is that it? I think that can be it. I don't know. Playoffs have been fun so far. I've enjoyed them. They're wide open. I will say that. I think that's all you can ask for. I saw the ratings are. I'm not really an NBA ratings guy, except for when I am, I guess. Except for what I am. I'm obsessed with the NBA ratings discussions because it's just so funny to see like numbers come out and then people argue about what it means, and the people that defend the NBA like refuse to acknowledge that, like, you know, there are some things that could be done to like cater to people who want to like basketball, but for some reason the NBA just like, if you criticize the league, they'll throw up middle fingers at you and say you're a hater, get over it. And that I've always found that weird. But then some people seem to get like rock hard over the idea of the NBA failing, and I always found that pretty weird too. So I've never really cared that much, except for just to watch the discussions from afar. But anyway, I did see that the TV ratings are as I think it was like a 12-year high or something like that for the start of the playoffs, which reflects what I believe to be true, which is that these playoffs are awesome and they're wide open and just about anybody can win. I think like the Hawks are definitely out in my mind. I think the Nets are definitely out in my mind. The Timberwolves are out. I have to pull up a bracket.
I feel like it seems wide open now, but I don't think it will be wide open for long, if that makes sense.
I think the West is wide. I think the East is going to shake out how everyone anticipates, which is that the top three are going to be the top three, and then whoever wins between Cleveland or New York. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. People listening to this, you just saw game 2 of Milwaukee-Miami. Maybe Miami's up 2-0 on the Bucks. I doubt it, but maybe they are. I don't know. Maybe Miami can, in fact, muck it up and beat the Bucks and advance. But I think you might be right. I think the East might shake out pretty chalky, and the top 3 teams will be the top 3 teams. The West gets interesting, though, because when you have the Lakers as a 7 seed, who, no matter what happens tonight, I think the Lakers are sitting pretty against the Grizzlies. And I don't know. I'm looking at it from a seed perspective. Like, Golden State's obviously in a bad spot. I think Phoenix or the Clippers could win it all. I think both of them are good enough to win it all. I think the Kings, if their jerseys didn't say the Kings,
right,
I would definitely believe in this team.
Yeah.
So I have to believe in them, right? Is that irrational? I don't know how that logic works with the NBA, because I think it works sometimes, but then there have been some first-time winners lately. You know, the Bucks got over the hump, and the Raptors got over the hump, and the Cavs won a title not that long ago. So I think there's a world where the Sacramento Kings can be NBA champions, right?
I don't want to seem like a hater. To me, the Kings story for this year seems more like a story where they have like an epic collapse. Like,
you saying
maybe they go down? Like let's say the Warriors win the next game, then the Kings get game 4 and it's 3-1, and then they blow a 3-1 lead.
Yeah.
That feels more likely. The Warriors coming back from a 3-1 lead against the Kings than them winning it all.
I think the NBA creating the Clutch Player of the Year award and giving it to De'Aaron Fox is about the biggest jinx I've ever heard of in the history of professional sports.
He'll have a shot.
That is the biggest kiss of death I've ever seen. Like, why are we giving that award out right now and not waiting until the end of the season, but we can't give MVP out right now?
Right.
That makes no sense to me. Because that is... Oh my God, that would give me. I mean, Kings fans. It seems like Kings fans were like excited about that because they're like, yes, our guy like getting the recognition he deserves, and it feels so good to have a good team and it's fun to cheer for and all that. And I guess that's the right frame of mind. But I don't know, if I was a Kings fan, I'd be like, we couldn't wait till the end of the season to give this guy the Clutch Player of the Year. We have to do it now.
If I'm
that is Fox, a kiss of death.
I think I'm like, I'm actually
keep
good.
This away from me. I don't need. I don't need that. I think the East will play out like everyone expected. The only teams, though, I feel comfortable enough saying definitely will not win are the Timberwolves, the Hawks, and the Nets at this point, honestly. Like, I do think the Warriors could still win the NBA championship. They have to have, like, they're not playing like NBA champions right now, obviously, but I'm not counting them out. I'm not counting out when the Lakers are a 7 seed and when you have a conference where the Lakers are the 7 seed and the Warriors are the 6 seed, I mean, that right there just speaks to the depth of the West. I don't think Cleveland or I don't think the Cavs or the Knicks can win it all, probably, but I don't know. I guess my logic there would just be like if Giannis is banged up against Miami and somehow Miami can pull a shocker against the Bucks and somehow pull out that series, then the bracket breaks wide open, for the Cavs or the Knicks. But I would probably take those. You could take those. Take Miami and Cleveland and New York off too. That's it. But the point is, like, how many times do we go into a playoffs and we get to this point and there's like 3 teams that you think can win it, and that's it. And we're just kind of waiting to see those 3 teams play each other. And right now these playoffs are wide open, so I'm fired up about it.
Jaw's out tonight.
Jaw's officially out. Yeah,
I could tell that was happening when they saw the clip of him at practice and he was just getting his arm wrapped up like a Subway sandwich.
Yeah, that was. If it wasn't a shooting hand, I think he could play.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. That still would be really dicey.
Will they let you play in the NBA with one of those clubs on, like a lineman will have if he breaks his finger or something?
That's a great question. And how could he play, like, if he wanted to be a hero and play where, like, he can't even bend his right wrist, so everyone knows he has to shoot left-handed?
Yeah.
That would be fast. Would you cheer? Is that the move that Ja Morant needs to make to get everybody back on his side? Because he's a big time villain right now. But if Ja Morant goes out and tapes up his shooting hand to an extent where he can't even flick his wrist to shoot, so we know that every jump shot, he can't even shoot jump shots. He literally can't shoot jump shots unless he shoots them left-handed. And he goes out and he wins and he scores like 20 points with one hand, like Larry Bird did back in the day when he said he was just going to play one game left-handed and because he was bored. I don't know. That might do a little bit to win me back. I would respect it. I wouldn't like him. I wouldn't, but I would be like, that was. I would still be like, Ja Morant stinks, but that was pretty fucking baller.
Even if they won, he would shoot like 8 for 34 though. Like he would just be chucking shots up the whole game.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Any shout outs before we go?
Did you see the Barstool Beast jacket program? I want to get your thoughts on this.
I didn't get an email.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about. I guess
I thought it was a joke. I thought someone was doing a bit. And then I saw you guys.
If you're in the universe and you're unfamiliar with this, Riggs from Foreplay Podcast tweeted this out. It's a slideshow from a meeting that I guess everybody but the content people were involved in. I thought it was everybody, but Barstool has launched a employee recognition program called Barstool Beasts. 4 employees per month, as voted on by their peers, will get a $500 prize and a jacket with your name on the back that says Barstool Beast on the front of it. Your thoughts?
So, how did Riggs find out about this?
I don't know. I'm assuming if he was in this meeting or somebody leaked it to him. I don't know. I don't think he was in the meeting.
I thought so. You didn't get an email about this. I thought everyone got an email but me about this because I saw people talking about it.
No, I was in the meeting. This is a
email.
screenshot from one of the slides.
So this is a real thing.
Yeah.
I saw it on Twitter. I thought, damn, I need to go check my email. I went and checked my email. I did not see an email, so I thought Riggs must have done this as a bit or something. And I guess it's kind of funny, but I don't need to pay any mind to this. And then I went about my day, and that was that. But now you're telling me this is a real thing.
It appears that this is, yes, a real... I don't know what the backlash from this...
I'm going for it.
Yeah. You can either look at it in 2 ways. You could say it's lame, and it's just like wearing your high school varsity jacket back to your hometown for Thanksgiving, or you give me that jacket.
Yeah, I it's funny you say that because I think I'm getting to the age where I want to wear my high school letter jacket back. Because there is, I will say, there is a certain age where wearing your letter jacket's kind of cool, actually. Because like if a guy who's like 74 years old showed up at a high school football game wearing his letter jacket, I don't care what you say. I don't care if that guy played 0 minutes for the team. I would think that's pretty freaking cool. I really would. I genuinely would think that that's cool. If a guy had like a letter jacket that said like class of 56 on it and he's at the high school, I'd be like, that's pretty sick. I want to talk to that guy. But where's the cutoff? I don't think it's 35 years old. So I think I still have time. But yeah, I think I want to win this thing. I think I've been too cool for awards my whole life, and I've decided I don't care about them. And I think like as I'm getting older and the clock is ticking on my window to win awards and win recognition in this business, the window is closing every day, TJ. And I think I got to just be my true self and admit publicly that I want to win shit. I do want to win shit. I got a taste of it when I was nominated for an Emmy that I didn't even know I was nominated for, and then I lost to Mount Everest or Nickelodeon Slime or something. I can't even remember who I lost to. And it was devastating. And I was like, that I thought I didn't care, but now I had already like dusted off my mantle. I knew I was going to put that in me, you know, and I didn't win it.
Yeah.
And now I want to win. And basically this Barstool Beast jacket, it's right up there with the Emmy. It's the exact same thing. I'm going to put the jacket on the mantle.
Yeah. Who cares about being voted on by some panel that decides what is the best sports media productions? I need the respect of my peers and coworkers.
I would rather my peers, my coworkers, half of whom seem to hate me, as I learned when I got to New York. I want all those people.
Yeah.
If I can, no, in all seriousness, if I can win over some of those people, that would be a bigger accomplishment than winning an Emmy, honestly. If I can get, yeah. No, that's absurd. It's absurd, but I have to have it, and I have to win it. That's like all awards, they're stupid, and you don't care about them. But then the second you see, like if Brandon wins it, you know, we're all going to lose our minds, and we're all going to be like,
Brandon will never win this award.
Brandon will never win it. But
there is no chance that Brandon wins a peer voted on award.
That's a good point. But if somebody else wins, that you think you're better than, you get mad and you're like, okay, well suddenly I care deeply about this, and if you're gonna give it to him or her, then to hell with that. I gotta win the next one. You know?
I want one with other people's names on the back. I want like if Big Cat, let's get Big Cat to win one, and then I'll get one that says Cats on the back. I'll buy his jacket from him.
Buy his,
that's more exclusive. Give somebody else the praise. I just want the jacket.
That jacket is... This is what I love about Barstool, though, is that this is an absolutely horrendous idea that just through sheer gumption, we as a company will make it a good idea.
Yeah.
Like, this will work. Like, this will be something that everyone will ironically decide they want. It'll, at a certain point, shift away from being ironic. We'll all actually be vying for it. One person will win it, and then a year and a half from now, there will be an auction on the Yak or something where you'll sell this to somebody for like $7,000.
Yep. Rare.
And then you'll look back on the entire arc of the Barstool Beast jacket and say that was unequivocally a success, when really this should have been dead on arrival.
It's a very corporate lifestyle idea. I don't know if the content people were ever meant to see this for this exact reason.
I want to nominate. Can I nominate somebody?
Yeah.
Can we do this? I want to nominate Billy Football.
Yeah.
I nominate Billy Football out of the gate, who I saw Billy was getting killed for his take that basically the pitch clock is bad in baseball because it's making the games too short, and he wants to mansplain baseball rules to women that he takes on dates. And the reason I want to nominate Billy is because I think Billy gets a bad rap in the office because I think Billy was onto something. I think Billy's biggest problem is that his delivery is horrendous at times. I think Billy has good ideas. Maybe not good ideas. I think Billy has not bad ideas.
He has ideas.
Yeah. That if they were delivered by somebody else, we would not laugh as hard at them. Because I won't lie, I've really enjoyed watching baseball. I've watched more baseball this year than I have in the last few years. Part of it's because the Cubs are way more competitive, and that's been enjoyable. They're better than I expected them to be. But the pitch clock is it. I mean, it's fun. It makes the games go faster. You don't have all the bullshit. But there is a part of me that used to throw on games on the radio if I was doing chores around the house. I'd throw my AirPods in or set up a speaker or something if I wanted to do some stuff around the house, or if I wanted to go on a road trip or something, I'd listen to the game on the radio. There was a part that enjoyed how much time the games did take up. I enjoyed that like a game could take like 5 hours because I have a 5-hour drive and I'm like, the game's going to start right as soon as I leave. This is going to work out perfectly. Or I have yard work to do. I can listen to the game all day. And now you don't get that with these baseball games. So I think Billy was onto something. I think his point, I think there should be like one Sunday a month, MLB should do away with the pitch clock and we should go back to the old way where it's like
lazy Sundays.
The lazy Sunday, yeah. On this Sunday, we're gonna bring back 5-hour games, and all of you that are working around the house and just trying to like, if you're out on your patio and you have a TV out there, you can throw the game on and just kind of like sit there and drink some beers all day and be outside. And yeah, I do think he was onto something. Going to the ballpark too. I haven't been to a game with the pitch clock yet, but I imagine there's some truth to that as well. That like you go and you kind of have rhythms of how many beers you want to drink throughout the game. And suddenly you look up and it's the 7th inning. You're like, shit, I've only had a beer and a half. Like,
I haven't been to a game yet either, but I know that I do have like a very specific like timing that I want to, I want to go to Billy's, the sports bar across the street from Yankee Stadium until this time, get into the stadium. If batting practice is on, check out batting practice. If it's not, go to Lobel's and get a steak sandwich. Eat that before first pitch festivities start. Get 2 beers before the first pitch, sit down in my seats for national anthem or whatever, go up after like an inning and a half, take a walk, maybe do a lap. I'm a big lap guy. Like he said, he wants to watch the game from different spots, get up, get active. And then you have to build in time to get a chicken bucket because that's the best deal I don't know if you're familiar with a chicken bucket at Yankee Stadium, but it's the best food for value deal in Major League Baseball. And it's at Yankee Stadium. It's $20. It's a bucket, maybe 10 inches in diameter, and it's like 8 chicken tenders and like 5 pounds of French fries.
Yeah,
and so you have to get a chicken bucket mid-game. My timing is going to be all thrown off once I make the decision to go out there.
I'm the exact same way. You have your rhythms, your cadence of. I watch the first inning. From my seat, I go find my seat for the first inning. I watch the whole first inning. Then after the first inning, I go get my first beer.
Yeah,
I just got to get a taste of what the game's going to be. You know, is this going to be a pitcher's duel? Is this going to be what are we getting? Once I get the taste of the game, I go get a taste of the beer. I'm usually like after the 7th inning, not during the stretch, but after the 7th is when I go get the ice cream helmet.
Yeah.
And there's at some point I do a hot dog. It's like one of the few places I eat hot dogs, but at a baseball game I got to do it. And yeah, so the point is, I think Billy was onto something. It's just his delivery is horrendous, and I don't know. I need to like volunteer to be his translator or something. I want Billy to like forward his ideas to me, and I'll say them for him or something. And like maybe they'll get more respect if they're like not coming from him. But that was a take I saw
that to be made that the MLB is probably losing money because of the pitch clock shortening.
Yeah, like advertisers and stuff.
They have less time to run ads on TV. And they have less times in stadium to sell souvenirs and food.
That's a good point. There's less like when there's a pitching change and it takes like 7 minutes. There's less like today's pitching change is brought to you by and it's also brought to you by yeah. There's less of that.
I don't know. When I used to go to I went to a lot of minor league games growing up. The Trenton Thunder was very close to my house, and me and my dad would like pick like the doubleheader scheduled days to go because we just wanted to go watch baseball all day. And that's kind of like lost now.
That's a good point. Maybe it will just... Won't somebody think of the billionaire owners losing money?
And the billionaire television deals. Won't somebody think of Fox?
Please.
Your friends at Fox.
Somebody. No, I do like the pitch clock, but that's my fix. It's just like we should have one day. They should just do an old... Like, or maybe if they have a pitch clock for the Field of Dreams game, we have a problem. You know what I mean? Like... We should have like there should be like one designated day where it's just like this is the throwback game and we all wear throwback jerseys and the NL doesn't have a DH anymore and pitchers have to hit
and you could peg people on the base paths.
Yeah, you can peg them. And was it the Yankees or the Brooklyn Dodgers that played at the Polo Grounds? I only know this from playing the show when you could play on the Polo Grounds.
Yeah.
And there was like no fence in the outfield, and you could just hit. If you hit it over like the center field was head, it would just roll for days and days.
And that stadium was like 215 down the lines and like 600 feet to center field.
Yeah, just rolled forever, dude. Yeah, play games there. Yeah, we did it. We fixed baseball. All right, that's the show. Everybody have a great weekend. We will be back next week. We're sticking with Tuesday, Thursday. So I enjoy doing Tuesday, Thursday shows, but it just the thing about signing off on these Thursday shows is that there's gonna be a lot of shit that happens between now and next show. So yeah, we'll see. The teams be eliminated? Probably, maybe.
Probably, yeah.
That's crazy to think about. Like the Grizzlies might be out by the time we do another show. Huh. All right. Well, there you have it. The Grizzlies might be out by the time we do another show. All right. Enjoy the weekend. See you guys on Tuesday.